Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Social Takeoff Podcast. This podcast is all for travel professionals who are ready to use social media marketing to have their business take off. Today we're talking about elevating your content using insight. Want to learn more? Keep listening. Let's dig in. Welcome to the Social Takeoff Podcast, a podcast for travel professionals who are ready to use social media to help their business take off. I'm Kelly Hay-Smith, your host. I'm travel agent turned social media marketer who now works with multiple seven-figure travel agencies to help them infuse strategy and create a target social plan. I'll be sharing all of the tips and tricks of the trade, as well as content ideas and trends that you should be using to help grow your travel business. Let's get started. Okay, y'all. So today we're talking about insight over information and how this concept can elevate your travel content for your travel business. And I say this all the time, and I get so many DMs asking, what does insight actually mean? Like, what does it look like to create insightful content? And so I feel like this deserves an entire podcast for this concept because it is hard for people to understand. So what is information style content? Okay. I'm going to use Kelly words, so just bear with me, but information content is Googleable content, right? Like I could type in a question in Google and it's going to spit out like just very specific information. Insight, the difference in information and insight is insightful content is something that is giving you a deeper understanding of what you're talking about. So let me be real basic, okay? And listen, if you don't know me, I'm going to talk in Disney examples because I love Disney. And so I'm going to talk in Disney examples when we talk, but I'm also going to give you examples for other destinations as well. Okay, so if we're talking about Disney and I'm creating content and it's information content, it's going to be something like the Festival of Fantasy Parade is every day at 12 and noon and 3, and it starts in Frontierland and ends on Main Street. That is information. I can Google that. I can find all of that very specific information. It's very cut and dry. Insightful content would be going a level deeper than just that basic information. So we're talking about saying, for the same piece of content, saying every day at noon, the Festival of Fantasy Parade starts in Frontierland. For a great seat, grab a table at Pecos Bills. You can have lunch, use mobile ordering to order lunch beforehand, sit down with your lunch and enjoy the parade. That's insightful because it's teaching you more about it. I'm sure you can probably Google that statement someplace, but it's not that cut and dry. This is information. These are facts. This is like A, B, C, D. This is really helping someone understand and feel and really be able to put themselves into that insightful information that you're giving. And it's also showcasing the fact that you have knowledge, insight, and expertise into whatever it is that you're talking about. So we can look at okay, I'm getting ready to go on a cruise next week with Careers on Vacation, and I'm getting these updates right from Royal Caribbean's app. And it's telling me to do this, 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 and this, okay? I could create a piece of content where it's like, this is the things that you need to do before you go. Check, 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 check. And all of these things are what's coming out of the app. But your clients are going to get those notifications from their app too. So it just looks like you're repeating that. However, I'm not an avid cruiser, so I'm getting information and insight from friends of mine who are avid cruisers, and they were like, make sure that you've packed the magnetic hook so that you can get that on the stateroom walls to organize, and make sure that you have the luggage tags, the plastic luggage tags for Royal Caribbean, and make sure that you have towel clips to go over your chair. All of those things, those are insight because the cruise line is not telling you those pieces. So that becomes the insight into the destination that is obviously expert and firsthand accounts of someone who's been there, right? Another example, I had a client about a year ago who is a England native. And so she's in the States now, and she plans vacations, and she specializes in Europe. She has the most insight into especially England of anyone ever, because she lived there, she grew up there. And so she was really able to give great content insight. All I had to do was rope in the topics, but she could really give insight because it was firsthand accounts, and she understood. And it's things that I would have never thought of that she was grabbing and grasping there. So I'm going to give you a few examples, but then I'm going to give you ways to really make yourself understand, are you being informational or are you being insightful? Okay. So first off, some of the things that I want you to think of when you're doing this are things like how to choose a room. Okay. And this can go for every destination. Okay. Is a swim up room right for you, or would you prefer to not have the swim up room? Okay. I always think that a swim up room sounds awesome, but then I'm like, but you know what? I would really rather have that like outdoor soaking tub. So I can't have both. So insight becomes what are the pros and cons of both types of those rooms? Same thing goes for a stateroom with a cruise. I'm not an avid cruiser, didn't book a lot of cruises as a travel agent, and so understanding which staterooms to choose is overwhelming to me. I would love someone to be insightful and teach me about that, because I know not all staterooms are created equal, and that doesn't matter which stateroom it is, interior or ocean view or balcony. It doesn't matter, because there are certain places that you want to be on the ship no matter which category you're in. There are certain places you want to be and certain places you don't want to be. And that is insight. That's not something that everybody just knows. So choosing a room, and then going back to Disney, understanding, and I talked about this a little bit last week in the podcast about showcasing what you do for a client. And this insight actually becomes that an extension of showcasing what you do, because it showcases your expertise and the advice and the guidance that you can give in the destinations that you plan, because you're showcasing your insight, and they can see that they're getting another level of service that's above and beyond just the basic information that they would get if they were Googling or YouTubing or Pinteresting their trip. It's another layer of service because you have the insight to that destination. And this is what I talked about last week. So understanding where you want the room to be. And I don't think it matters whether this is, okay, we talked about mentioned all inclusives, but Disney is part of this, and Universal, but also regular hotel rooms, no matter where you're at. Like if you have a double jogging stroller, you don't want a small room that jogging stroller will not fit in. But like as a Disney goer, one of my favorite things about the Skyliner and the monorail, but really and truly the Skyliner, because you get the entire like cabin thing to yourself and you don't have to fold a stroller. Truth time, when we go to Disney, especially when I had really small kids and we were staying on property, we would still drive to the parks, because there is nothing worse than getting out of that park like late at night, kids are asleep, and I have to pull a kid out of a stroller and hold them standing on a bus for however long it takes to get back to my resort. So my family would drive to the park, walk, don't ride a tram. That way we don't have to fold the stroller up until I can put a kid in a car seat where even if he cries for the minute, he's back asleep as soon as that car moves. Like, I'm not doing that. So having a monorail or a Skyliner, that's insight, because it's explaining to your potential clients that you don't want to fold a stroller up after the fireworks at night, right? Like the monorail is going to have a long line, yes, but the resort monorail never does. So if you stay on the monorail, the resort monorail lines never long, right? If you stay on the Skyliner when you're leaving like Hollywood Studios, the line might be long, but I don't have to fold that stroller up. The kid can stay sleeping. And I promise you, and parents, you get me, that is a big deal. As long as those kids can stay asleep, I can continue to have sanity. But if they are awake and screaming and throwing a fit and I'm also in a line, my sanity takes it takes a back seat. So like that is insightful information that parents want to know. We also can talk about, you can talk about things while you're there. When it comes to being at a destination, whether it's Turks and Caicos or Hawaii, understanding. Another thing I've learned doing this job is that not all beaches are swimmable, right? So people need to know what type of activities they want to do. They hear all-inclusive resort in Cancun and they immediately think beautiful beaches, I'll be able to swim, I'll get in the water. People think Hawaii, obviously I'm going to be able to get on the beach and sit there and get in the water, but not all of those beaches are swimmable, right? People don't know that. So helping them understand and gain insight into their destinations becomes another layer that you are helping teach them in. So as you're creating content, you should put on this like insight lens, right? And say, okay, is this informational or is this insightful? I want you to keep your information style content to content about you and your services and what you do, in the getting to know you factor and understand what you do. Other than that, the trust and all of those pieces of content where you're teaching them about destinations or you're teaching them about types of vacations, I want you to be as insightful as possible and stay away from information when it comes to that. So insight looks like the in-depth, another layer deep, first-hand accounts, expert knowledge of not just facts, but of really the fundamentals of being there, what it's going to feel like to be there, how you will feel, how you can get the best views or the best whatever. That comes from insight, right? And so here's how I want you to put that lens on. Here's what I want you to think about. When you read the content you are writing, does it sound like something that would pop up at the top of a Google box before you start diving into blogs and all of that other? Does it sound like something that anyone could have written, or does it sound like something that someone who's been there, understands, is trained in, has written? Okay? Here's another thing though. We're going to take another step back because I need you to understand one more thing about this. Your insight doesn't have to be deep. You are not talking to other travel professionals. Your ideal client, your ideal audience isn't experts in the destinations you book. Your ideal client, your ideal audience are not experts. So you don't have to be so deep and insightful that you're impressing other travel agents or that you're teaching other travel agents things. Your insight needs to be speaking to a level that your potential travelers can understand. It's not speaking down or speaking dumb. It is seriously about speaking on a level that they will be able to grasp onto and understand. True story. I had a client tell me that one of her agents was like, hey, her content doesn't stop my scroll anymore. I don't feel like I'm learning anything. And my response back was, yeah, my content's not trying to stop a travel agent's scroll. They should know these pieces already. This content is for someone we want to book a trip for. That's not another travel agent. That's not a Disney blogger. That's not a Universal blogger. It's not a travel blogger. It's not a travel influencer. It is a traveler who needs our help. That's who you're talking to. So don't worry about if you're being teaching or showing expertise to other agents. Really think about, are you showing insight to your ideal client, your potential traveler? If your ideal client is someone who needs accessible travel, are you speaking to them in an insightful way? Are they understanding the feeling and the experience and the expertise that you have in their genre? That type of thing. So as you're creating this content, I want you to think, is this something that your potential clients have learned from? Do they feel like they know the destination better? Do they feel more prepared for a trip to that destination based on your content? Or does it feel like something that is fact-based that they can take a true or false question on a test? That's going to tell you if you're showing insight or if you're specifically giving information into. And so one last tip on this episode, agency owners, the best way for your agency to be providing insight to potential clients on social media is to allow your agents to provide tips, tricks, and pieces of content for you, because it's giving your agents a platform to showcase their expertise, and you want to quote them, you want to tag back to them, because the more your agents grow in the platform, the more they grow in their presence online, the more your agency will grow. So remember that. Remember that asking them for their tips and tricks and really pushing back to them and showcasing what they know insightfully, not just basic, the Flower and Garden Festival is from March to whatever, and no. Like, what did they enjoy there? What are experiences that you can't get anywhere else? Things like that, their favorites, their tips, things that other people aren't sharing necessarily. And even if they are sharing, that it came from them. That's going to help set your agency up for success. Y'all, I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure that you have subscribed wherever you're watching this. If you're on YouTube or listening to this on a podcast, like, subscribe, and make sure you turn on your notifications so that you get the next one as soon as it comes out. Catch Fridays, 5 Things Friday this week. And I'll see you, or you'll hear me, in another week back here for the next new episode. Y'all have a great day.